My parents think I'm a loser, but I'm actually very successful. I just never told them because they are mooches. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to turn on notifications. My father was not the nicest man, always putting me down and pretty much expected me to amount to nothing my whole childhood. I was 25 and discovered an employment recruiter who could get my feet in the door at my local municipal government offices. I never said a word to my parents. That same year, I finished my degree. Fast forward to this month, I was promoted to the second highest position in the department. Still, not a word. And now I'm 29 years old. I just see how they treat my younger sister. She has always been the golden child. She can never do any wrong. She got married to a wealthy family and she does not have to work but chooses to. My father loves that about her. But my dad also constantly borrows money from her and never returns it. She complains to me all the time. My sister and her husband never went on a honeymoon because they gave the savings to my dad for a new roof when he spent the insurance money on my mother's brand new car. For this reason, I have not told my parents what I do for work. I don't boast about how much I make or how I am the only one sitting at the dinner table with a degree when I come over. I just feel like I got the last laugh when they express their overly opinionated thoughts about me. They don't even have a clue. They think I edit books or do social media for money. It's hilarious. My friends are my family, and they support everything I do. We all push each other to do better, and I couldn't ask for anything more. We travel to reward ourselves for our successes. We have been to some pretty amazing places. So my father sees this on social media and drafts the narrative for the rest of the family. I don't bother to correct him due to his lack of, let's just say, understanding, and I don't want to explain why I refuse to contribute to his frivolous spending habits. So in summary, my parents suck. They mooch off the other members of the family. I keep my successes as a secret to keep them from asking me for money so I can vacation and live happily ever after. Am I the jerk? Some of the top responses to this say, definitely never tell them. People saying tell them don't understand what it's like to have narcissistic parents who want a scapegoat. They won't have an aha moment and gain respect to be tell them. They would just keep making up new lies to support their false narrative that you aren't as good as the golden child if they find out. They'll move on to stuff like, ow, she must have cheated her way through school to have made it, or I think she slept away to the path. So many adult kids of narcissists have experienced this. Sorry for their stupidity, you deserve all your success. Some others went for a more petty approach where they would rub the success in their parents' face but then not give them a dime. And lastly, somebody said to do that but then show them pictures of the degree as well as the workplace OP is at. If they really don't believe it, show your bank account on the phone followed by, I had this the entire time, I didn't tell you based on how you treated my sister. You said I would amount to nothing, but that was the complete opposite of what happened. I came here to tell you I'm happy and my life is great while you die here being nothing but you. And that obviously is waiting until they're on their deathbed to tell them. From the sounds of it, the parents have already decided how they feel about each of the kids. I don't think these suggestions are going to change the minds of their parents or really have any effect on them in general. If they rub this in their face, the parents are probably just going to make them some excuses like that first comment said. The better process, but the much more difficult process is figuring out a way to not care. So many people don't care about what you do. You just have to find a way to not care about what they do or what they think. It's just a lot harder when they're your parents. But let me know what you would do if you're in this situation down below, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for telling my therapist lies because I suspected that she was telling my husband what I was telling her during our sessions? I started seeing a therapist 6 months ago because I had postpartum depression. At first, she really helped me, but then I noticed on 2 occasions my husband mentioned things that I hadn't told him, but I had confided in my therapist. Since I had no proof and I didn't want to accuse either of them, I decided to tell my therapist lies that I knew he would confront me on if he heard them to see if I was being delusional or not. The more I lied to her, the more suspicious I became too, since even things that made my husband look awful were challenged by her and twisted to make him look good. It took a while for him to confront me, but he did. At first, he never believed I was lying during those sessions, but when I finally convinced him that I was, he was furious at me. He said he only wanted to make sure I was okay, and he hadn't been using the therapist to spy on me. So, am I the jerk for telling my therapist lies because I suspected she was telling my husband what I was telling her during our sessions? There's a show that I'm not going to say the name of in case you're watching it right now, where a situation like this unfolds in a similar way, where the husband is paying the therapist to side with him during their therapy sessions, and then he finds out that the wife is also paying the therapist to do the same, but it ends up being some sort of bidding war to who can pay the therapist the most so that they can will their outcome the easiest. And then of course the therapist gets figured out because she's buying sports cars and all that. But in this case, if this is a real therapist and not just some decoy, this has got to be illegal. A lot of people are saying to sue the therapist so that she'll lose her license, but it seems like a hard thing to prove other than just saying he knew things that you didn't know before the therapy session happened. Unless you've documented all that, it's probably going to be tricky to do. Something I hadn't even considered that a lot of people pointed out is that they suspected cheating between the husband and the therapist. One comment said, otherwise, I don't know any person who would put their career on the line to go to bat for one person. And that's true, especially if they're risking their license and money is not the issue behind all this. So what do you think is going on here, and jerk or not a jerk, and why? Am I the jerk for demanding my husband pay me back the $1,000 he spent behind my back? My husband is 33 years old and I, 31 years old, used to have a two-income home, but in 2020 we've lost our home and one of our incomes, his. We moved into a smaller apartment and had to sell many things and give up most of our costly habits. My husband has a very expensive habit of going to the spa for a weekly massage session. We live in an urban area, so this stuff is ridiculously expensive. A single session is $250, and he has to have it every week, so that would be nearly $1,000 a month. I offered him to have his session at a regular spa, but no, he has to get it from that luxurious spa near the restaurant we used to go to, saying the lady who gives the massage is an expert and he's used to her. The problem is, I'm the only income earner and I'm struggling to make ends meet. I'm also pregnant and I need to save money to prepare for a nursery. I told him to cut his sessions, but he refused. I told him I won't be paid for them anymore, and he said he'd get the money himself. Yesterday, I checked and saw that he's been using my credit card for his sessions for a whole month, and he maxed out my credit card completely. I found that out when I was shopping for baby essentials and the cashier said I had no money. I had to return everything and went home and went off on him. I told him he maxed out my credit card and made me look like an idiot at the store. He said he didn't tell me because he knew I'd have an issue with it. I demanded he pay back the $1,000 he spent on the spas. He refused. I yelled at him, calling him irresponsible, and he got upset and called me selfish and told me to stop playing a victim and that this is affecting both of us since he's going to be a parent too and it's stressful for him, and I keep dismissing his own needs as a human. I went upstairs and he went out. He started giving me the silent treatment, but I kept demanding the money back. He said I shouldn't expect it back since we're married because my money is technically his money and I should stop using his unemployment against him. So, am I the jerk for demanding my husband pay me back the $1,000 he spent on spas behind my back? I've never heard of somebody having such a consistent habit for luxurious spas of this one specific place that he has to go to every single week, to the point that he's willing to lie and steal to go there. I mean, it is true that his money is their money and their money is his money, but the difference is, in this situation, that he's not being honest about it. He went and took her credit card and just tried to max it out without having a plan together for how to spend that money. There might not be any legal ramifications there, but you still lied to a person, or at the very least deceived the person that you're with. And you knew she was going to find out anyway, so why not tell her so she doesn't have to end up in a situation where she has to put all this stuff back at the store? I mean, that is such a time-wasting, humiliating thing to do to somebody. One thing a lot of people are bringing up is that these so-called luxurious spas are not actually spas, that he's going there to buy other services, and that's why he's so addicted to going. Since something seems off about this whole thing, but let me know what you think is going on here, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for my response after my brother-in-law said that my dress was inappropriate for a family gathering? So, my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, was married to a woman from Greece. Her name is Nana, and the reason for the divorce was because of how much my conservative brother-in-law tried to control her clothes and the places that she went. He didn't want the divorce and was hoping Nana would accept the life that he offered and stay, but she didn't. This happened 2 years ago. He now moved back in with my in-laws and would see him more often. He tried to comment on how I dress on multiple occasions and it is unbearable. But since my in-laws said he's struggling, I let it go. On Friday, my in-laws celebrated my husband's 30th birthday at their home. I wore a heart-shaped blue dress and I had my hair up. While we were eating, my brother-in-law pointed at me and said that my cleavage was showing and that I shouldn't have wore this dress because it looked inappropriate for a family gathering. I was utterly shocked. Everyone was staring at me and I felt so embarrassed on the spot. He looked at me, waiting for me to blow up probably, but I laughed and I told him, "Knock, knock." He said, "Who's there?" I said, "Nana." Now he paused and seemed confused at the mention of this name. He then faked a laugh, and said, "Nana who?" I said, "None of your damn business what I'm wearing, okay?" He got upset. and quickly left the table. My sister-in-laws laughed, but my husband and his parents were upset and later said that I was way out of line for bringing up Nana to my brother-in-law, knowing how heartbroken and sad he is because of her. His mom said that I was petty and didn't need to dig at him just to prove a point. My husband thinks that I am in the wrong as well and that I was being deliberately hurtful by bringing up Nana. So, am I the jerk for my response after my brother-in-law said that my dress was inappropriate for a family gathering? Does the brother-in-law have such little self-awareness that he doesn't understand the reason that Nana was driven away was because of comments like this, and that trying it on new people he's not even in a relationship with, isn't going to work out any better? As some people pointed out, he was already trying to police her clothes in a really conservative way, probably beyond the situation with the OP here, so it seemed like a time that would make sense to bring up Nana. And if people think the two are unrelated, either the OP is spinning the facts differently, or everyone else is just in a delusion that there is no correlation between him trying to police Nana's clothes and making comments like this to the OP. Which of those seems more likely? So in this situation, who do you think was the jerk and why? Let me know down below. Am I the jerk for yelling at my husband's mother for announcing my pregnancy using my husband's Facebook account? I'm a 23-year-old female and I found out that I was pregnant very recently. It was not planned and my husband and I are trying to make a decision regarding going through with the pregnancy. Here's the thing. I told him not to tell anyone, but he ended up telling his mom and he made her swear that she won't tell. He didn't tell her, we aren't sure about it, but just to stay quiet. Well, she begged and begged and begged that she wanted to announce it on her Facebook under the guise of using her permission, but I said absolutely not and lied and said my husband and I wanted to announce it ourselves later if we decided to go through with it. Just a day ago, I found out that she logged into my husband's Facebook and dropped the bomb. She made the announcement and yes, she pretended to be my husband behind our back. I was floored. I called her and she said she figured if she made the announcement using one of our social media accounts, then we won't mind, but it would still look like we made the announcement. But like I stated earlier, we're still trying to make a decision. I lost my temper and yelled at her, which made her cry. I said she overstepped and messed up completely, and then I hung up on her. My husband came into the room yelling about my poor treatment towards his mom. I told him his mom violated our privacy and put us in more pressure to finally make a decision for the baby since the family is now calling to say congratulations. He said that it was his Facebook, so none of my privacy was violated, and that I shouldn't have yelled and hurt her feelings and made her cry no matter what, period. He demanded I apologize and we'll talk about the pregnancy later, but I didn't give an answer and refused when he tried to force me to go to her house and grovel with apologies. So am I the jerk for yelling at my husband's mother for announcing my pregnancy using my husband's Facebook account? What difference does it make if it was the husband's Facebook or not? The husband seemed to think that her privacy wasn't violated because the mother used his account. That makes no sense. So by that same token, if the mother would have posted it on her own account, it wouldn't have violated her privacy. It's not even a variable in the equation. That's just a random bit of information that doesn't actually contribute to the underlying issue here, which is that she wanted to have time to think, and if they did decide to go through it, that she wanted to be the one that will go out and tell people, not have the perception of being the one that told people, which is, I guess, what the mother thought that was the most important part, not actually doing the announcement, but having the perception that you did do the announcement, which is why she thought it was okay to do it through the husband's account because it would circumvent the whole situation, but she also missed the core issue here. I definitely understand the frustration here, and groveling with apologies is not the answer, but what would you do if you're in a situation, and jerk or not a jerk, and why? Am I the jerk for not telling my dad that I had canceled our hotel reservations after he insisted on taking my stepsister? I'm a 17-year-old female. My parents divorced 10 years ago because my dad cheated on my mom. He married the other woman who had 2 kids, my stepsister Julia, who's also 17, and my stepbrother Josh, who's 14. While my dad cheated, their mom didn't because their dad had already passed away. Before that, I was a total daddy's girl. I adored him and I was glued to his hip. My mom encouraged me to keep a relationship with him after they split. His new wife's family never paid much attention to me. They weren't mean nor good, but at first I always had to share my dad with them whenever I visited. If you went hiking or fishing, they had to come. If we went to the movies, had dinner outside or anything, they had to come. I remember I used to cry at night because I couldn't understand. This stopped when I turned 15 years old because I wanted to do something special just with my dad. And when he said we should invite my stepbrothers, I just broke down crying, asking him why he never wanted to spend time with me alone. We had a long talk where I got to vent about how awful I felt just sitting there and waiting for him to turn his head and notice me, because if I tried to talk or have his attention, they would get in the middle while ignoring me, and he apologized after that. We would spend more time one-on-one and just a few instances with all of them. I won't lie, I really enjoyed it. I could really talk to my dad, do fun stuff, be around him without having to wait for my stepbrothers to stop talking to him or anything. Julie and I will be graduating graduating this summer. I got an early acceptance to the college of my choice, and when I told my parents, both decided to do something to celebrate. My mom and I will be having a getaway weekend to the spa, and my dad said he would take me to the beach. I was honestly really excited, so I offered to pay for the hotel reservation because I wanted to feel mature. My dad said no a bunch of times, but I ended up convincing him. We were supposed to leave today, but when he came to pick me up, my stepsister was there. He said it was a surprise since both of his girls were graduating. Apparently, she begged him to come with us, and he agreed, saying that she could get his bed and he'll sleep on the floor between us. I could feel my eyes burning, and I told him that this wasn't the deal. He tried to convince me, but he ended up leaving with her. In my rage, I called the hotel to cancel the room and I didn't tell my dad. When they arrived, he tried to check in, and when he couldn't, he called me. I only said, yeah, I canceled it, and hung up. He sent a long text apologizing, and my mom said that what I did wasn't okay, and that I owe them an apology. Apparently, they're on the way back because they couldn't find a hotel. So here's the update. As someone suggested, I'm adding this. The trip with my dad and the spa getaway with my mom was because I got an early acceptance, not because I was graduating high school. That's why Julia had no business being there. My dad did ask about inviting her, but I said no. I also informed my dad that since he keeps hurting me and putting his other family above me, when I explicitly asked for him, I would rather go no contact with him, and that he was currently uninvited to my graduation, that this was the last time, and while I still love him, and it hurts my heart that it has come to this, I can't keep doing it anymore. I asked him to not contact me again, and I blocked him. As for my mom, I explained everything to her. After much crying from both parents, she apologized and hugged me because she didn't know. She's supporting my decision. So, am I the jerk for not telling my dad that I had canceled our hotel reservation after he insisted on taking my stepsister? So the dad did ask if the stepsister could come with them, and she already said no. So with that in mind, why would the dad decide to try and blindside the OP by just bringing her anyway and thinking that, what, he was going to trick her into having her come? These type of situations where one parent has two families seem to have a lot of collateral damage, even if the parent isn't trying to have that happen. In this case, the dad can't claim that he was oblivious because it seems that the OP went out of her way to make it abundantly clear what the problem was and what the solution was. And it worked for a while, but that didn't change the fundamental logistics of the whole situation. So inevitably, something like this was bound to happen, unless he wanted to offend the stepsister. It's a tough situation because there's no ambiguity in what the OP wants. Therefore, whatever happened is really just the direct decision of the father. But let me know what you would do in this situation, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories in this series, use the playlist at the top of the description. And next time you live stream, use the cream of the crop music. Search for Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever music platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your stream. It's free, Cream of the Stream. Either way, thanks a lot for listening. I'll see you guys next time.